have the 8 trigrams, which are divided into different functions: the structure, function, reflection, and resonance. And if you put those together around the outside in that mandala, and then you connect them all up, all the permutations and pathways that connect heaven and earth are explicated. And you can see the names of all the hexagrams connecting, because it takes 2 trigrams, right? So that basic image lets us see how the structure of the I Ching works. And so
all 64 are in that globe.
That
is gorgeous.
In that globe. And they're in different classes. Yes, wow, I feel the same way. Glad you mentioned that. There are different classes. All hexagrams are not created equal. In fact, there's 8 sets of 8 hexagrams, and within those 8 sets, each of them are divided into 4. There's highest level hexagrams, which are like heaven and earth, and other what I call the ruling hexagrams. And there are there's the lineage hexagrams, which are heaven and earth, and then nurturing inherent potential, great transcendence, nourishment, small transcendence, having to do with virtue. There's the cyclic hexagrams, having to do with karmic cycle. There's the Vala hexagrams, having to do with natural magic and power. And then there's another set of hexagrams called the societal hexagrams. And that's the whole globe, and now here are the societal hexagrams, which look completely different. And these have to do with the structure of everyday life in society as opposed to being ruling hexagrams. And there's different classes joining heaven and earth, royalty, leadership, the way of the great, and the way of the small. So what we have is, rather than a grab bag of 64 hexagrams, we have these 8 sets of hexagrams, each of which has their own qualities and function, and performs their function differently in the sequence of the hexagrams, and can be studied as a group and understood because they are all groups of hexagrams based on their structure. Yes?
So when you were translating this, did you use the Wilhelm image? Because I've never seen it presented in this way. Like
No, it hasn't been presented.
It's absolutely beautiful.
It is pretty.
And so, but the translation the original text contains all of this.
Well, the original sequence of the hexagrams and the structure of the hexagrams, and when you translate the text, understanding this, the text makes sense where it didn't before. Because you say, why is it that great transcendence, which is in the middle, and small transcendence, which is in the end, have the same name? WTF. Right? And so once you understand the structure, you understand why. They're of the same structure. They're in the same group, and you'll see in a second why that's the truth. Yeah. Yes? Yeah?
You mentioned karmic. You mentioned that a couple of slides.
Yes.
Can you wing back to that? Or
We'll take a look in a second on that. That's coming up. Yeah.
My impression was that this discussion is talked about many processes.
That's right.
And I was wondering if the I Ching addresses the basis for living.
The basis for
living.
Yeah.
For acting. What is the root basis, the reason?
Those first 2 hexagrams, when discussed from that point of view, are the beginning of that, and then the rest of the book. And it shows the view, practice, action, and result of knowing, which includes doing and being. So that's a larger discussion, but the answer is there's lots of cool things to discuss in that area. Yeah.
So you've been presenting this as the societal matrix, sort of.
Exactly.
And referring to leadership all the time.
Yeah.
So right there, we individuals want to see where we fit or whatever. Is that explained then in the individual in the matrix as only the societal, or can they?
Pictures that come up, yeah, the pictures that will be coming up will help us look into that, and they're coming soon. So when we look at these classes, you can see joining heaven and earth. It's water and fire hexagrams with the first and third siblings of the opposite sex. In other words, it's structurally, the point of this is it's structurally driven, this class. It's not just because of meaning, that the structure of the hexagrams with the two trigrams is what drives them, their association with each other. And that's true with each of these 5 societal groups.
No, but I'm sorry, you didn't have the daughter, or you didn't say which siblings.
Siblings, so if you think there's mother and father,
Right.
and then water and fire are the second siblings, and then thunder and wind are the first siblings, and I can't get it out of my mouth. Lake and mountain are the third siblings. So here we have the first and third siblings.
Okay.
So if you look at any one of these, you have thunder over fire of the opposite sex. They're the opposite sex combined with each other, and that's what generates that method generates this group.
Okay.
And I'm just going to power through these because it's too much for us to get into. But the same principle obtains for each one of these classes, of 5 classes of leadership. There we go. The way to swallow. Okay. So then you may say, you may wonder, here's the story of how I got into this. I was minding my own business. I was in the basement of my ex-wife's house in Framingham, Massachusetts, and I was not happy. So it was around 2 in the morning, and I was just fiddling around. So as I had for many years, I was fiddling with the sequence of the hexagrams because it made no sense and it pissed me off. And I started to think about the structure of the trigrams, and I came up with this. And that literally was the first time I understood the sequence of the hexagram, so it was only about 2/3 right at this point. And the next morning I organized it to this, and today it looks like that. And that is the sequence of the hexagrams, reading in sequence, top to bottom like columns, 1, 2, 3. So if you were going to read it, it would look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it would look like this, right? But you can see there's different classes, aren't there? And these are these ruling hexagrams that contain the other ones. And the big surprise is that when you take the higher level hexagrams and extract them and relate them to each other, even though they're far away, they become great parentheses, and they divide up the societal hexagrams, the gray ones, into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see it's in the same space. Sets of 4 pairs relating to the stages of societal development. So you have the higher level hexagrams, which are containers, like bowls or parentheses, and then you have these 4 stage processes for the taming society, these principles of enlightened leadership, which we've discussed already, establishing society, organizing society, renewing society, and enlightened society. And those relate to view, practice, action, and result, or Flan, Yen, and Lu, and organizing principle. So what was this grab bag now is a highly coherent systems map of how societal process works. And when you're translating within that context, you're never in isolation. You always know what's working with what. So you're not confused by, why one hexagram doesn't seem to make any sense going after the other. Well, they're different classes. They're not on the same level. But the ones that are on the same level make complete sense with each other once you look at it that way. So that was the exciting part of that.